Meeting of March 11th, 2025. This hybrid meeting is being recorded and may be accessed by WebEx. The meeting link is on the calendar at burlington.org. All of the members are here tonight, so we will not need roll call votes. If connectivity is lost and we have a quorum in person, which we do, the meeting will continue. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on our agenda is the approval of the warrant. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Moved and second. Any question or comment? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? It's unanimous. Approval of meeting minutes of 2/25/25. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
All right, any comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Public participation. This segment is public comment on items that are not on our agenda. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Anybody out there want to speak?
Reviewing, is the schedule on, or is the
Technically not.
schedule for?
He should speak now. The schedule's on the executive session.
Oh, no, it's an executive session, I believe.
Right. Then I will speak now.
Okay.
Good. Good evening, school committee.
Hey, Sean.
Yes, for those of you participating at home, my name is Sean Musselman. Today I'm sitting before you as the president of the Burlington Educators Association. I know you've already heard from me a few times over the past few weeks, and so tonight I will be brief and I will speak from the heart. In my lifetime, one of the most important organizations that I have been a part of has been the Boy Scouts of America. I was an Eagle Scout. I will always be an Eagle Scout of Troop 615. And today I am a Cub Master and den leader for several rambunctious first graders and second graders for PAC 555 out of the Memorial Elementary School. For those of you who are familiar with the Scouting organization, you know that the Scout motto is to always be prepared. It's something that I try to hold true to in my life. It is something that the educators behind me deeply understand. It is something that the educators online at this meeting tonight understand. It is something that the educators who are not online but are grading papers, owning lesson plans, or differentiating handouts for the next day also understand. There is never enough time in our school day and school calendar for all of the ways in which our educators can and must be prepared for the school day. But you, in your prestigious positions, elected positions, have an opportunity tonight to help us take a little dent out of that feeling of never being fully prepared. You have an opportunity to come together and present us with a calendar and schedule that does give more collaboration, planning time, professional development experiences for our educators so that they can be better prepared for your students and for the students to come in the years to come. So thank you for your time, and I look forward with earnest to a proposal from the school committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? Anyone online?
No hands raised.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Sean. The next item on our agenda is, student report.
Rashida.
What have you got for us?
Okay, so general school updates. Mr. Milton's looking to get a Spirit Week approved for next week, which would consist of Monday is Green Day for St. Patrick's Day, and then Tuesday Twin Day, Wednesday PJ Day, Thursday we have no school, and then Friday a Burlington Day. The seniors are selling prom tickets through the school and the school store and online, and they favor credit card. They're looking significantly lower than last year, and we're looking at Wegmans catering for senior breakfast and a photo booth for senior field night and maybe food trucks. The juniors dance is this Friday. They have free pizza and a ton of water, and they're looking for a photo booth for the dance as well as Great Gatsby backdrops. They're selling Cookie Monster cookies and so they're looking to make a dock with locations that offer donations to student government. The sophomores started planning a restaurant fundraiser, which should be happening March 13th, and they started planning semi, and they're discussing with the freshmen soon, I think. And May 16th looks like it's the date for that. Then the freshmen sold 13 out of 24 boxes from their chocolate fundraiser, and if they sell all of them, they're gonna get $500. And so that's it, yeah.
Anyone have any questions? That kind of sounds like fun with all those days at the beginning of your, yeah. What were they again?
It was Green Day for St. Patrick's Day, Tuesday Twin Day, but it's interesting because it's not a traditional Twin Day, but whichever group, largest group dresses the same, they might win a prize.
You could have
And Wednesday-
quadruplet day. Could have quadruplet day,
Yeah.
or extuplet.
And then Wednesday's PJ Day, that one I know everyone will do.
Oh, yeah.
Thursday we don't have any school, and then Friday is Burlington Day.
Well, that sounds like fun. Thank you for all your input. No questions, no comments? No news, huh?
Not yet, not
All
yet.
right, we'll wait patiently or impatiently. Thank you.
Thank you, Rashida.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda, subcommittee reports.
Sure, I'll do my normal, so nothing really big to bring to the table for Recreation Commission. I'll cover that in new business. For the field committee, we did vote for the permanent striping of the field, so the backfields will be all permanently striped with girls lacrosse, boys lacrosse, soccer, and field hockey. So we felt like that gave us the greatest mix of sports permanently striped, and then helps address some of the concerns conservation had about striping and other materials being put on the field. So we think we got a good plan there.
Okay, anyone else, subcommittees? Ways and Means, Cheyenne.
Thank you. Ways and Means has nothing to report at this time.
All right. Other announcements.
Madam Chair, again, I have two brief ones. I just wanted to, Ms. Terrell, who's been in front of this committee before, who is our Pathways coordinator, that we have an upcoming STEM career event, and there's a large career event for the Girls in STEM Club, but all students are invited on March 13th from 1 to 2 at the high school. The purpose is for the girls to meet professionals and to deepen our pool of industry partners. 2 school committee members have responded. They'll be attending, Ms. Massardo, Ms. Bond, and they will be among 35 professionals from area companies, mostly women, who work in life sciences, construction management, research, data analytics, engineering, AI, et cetera. Many of these women are managers, leaders, vice presidents, and founders, and of course, some are Burlington parents, and we have 65 girls currently signed up. So that, again, is on March 13th from 1 to 2. And then the Select Board is going to make an announcement through 2 families, and they want to put together a government review committee. I think it's going to be another government, is a comprehensive review of its government structure, and we need to engage citizens to help guide this process. So we're going to be sending out this announcement on behalf of the Select Board to parents to see if we can get those involved. And while we're talking about the Select Board, I did want to congratulate John Denizio to being appointed town manager, and certainly thank and wish Paul Sagarino the best in whatever he does in the future. He was an amazing person to work with for the 17 years I've been in Burlington, and I think a large supporter of schools and a big reason we've had the success that we've had, again, at town meeting. So congratulations to both Paul for his future choices, and for John for taking over the reins.
Okay, do you want to do the one about the Pine Glens? Yeah. So I don't know all the details about this, but evidently the Pine Glen School, is someone here from Pine Glen?
We have a bunch.
Would you like to tell us about the BFIT hat trick? I guess the Bruins came to visit and you got $30,000.
Yeah, they got
You got $3,000. $3,000.
That would be great.
But now you're in the running with six groups in the running for $30,000. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so, yes, yeah.
Well, we're rooting for you. So congratulations to all the hard work over there at Pine Glen getting this far, and I hope you succeed. Okay. Next item is out-of-state travel.
Madam Chair, just with your permission,
Sorry?
Madam Chair, with your permission, could we just make an adjustment?
Yeah, you want to have,
Yeah, we'd love to.
want to have my neighbor come up?
Yeah, the community garden. Peter, if you want to come on up, that'd be great. Bob, you want to provide some of the background on this? And I believe the information is in your packet.
Sure. So as you all know, or should all know, that we have a community garden located on the Francis Wyman property, and in the back of the property. Peter has done a great job of managing it and getting it to where it is right now. Also with the help of the Recreation Department, Peter had approached me and asked if we could help to take down some trees, move some dirts, and expand the community garden. Little outside of my scope. I don't really have that equipment, nor do we have the funding, but we do support the project. So Peter, again, who's here tonight, will speak about how he has worked with the DPW and maybe potentially some outside companies to actually help take on that endeavor. So with your permission, there'd be no cost to the school department, but Peter would like, obviously, to explain why there's benefits to bringing or to making the community garden larger. And like I said, it would be no cost to the school department.
Go ahead, Peter.
Thank you. Again, Peter Capola, I'm the senior volunteer at the Community Garden Complex, and I call it a complex because it's multiple gardens, and it's truly unique for the state. We have the volunteer garden for the food pantry. We have lease plots for residents who don't have a place to garden at home. They lease them through the Recreation Department. We have the school garden, the Francis Wyman School Garden. We have a pollinate garden, we have a meadow, we have a picnic area. I don't think any other town in Massachusetts has a complex like that, and it's been operational now, believe it or not, 13 years. I think you were the only member at the time that's left. I know, I'm sorry. So we've been operating now for 13 years, and it truly has become a destination location for a lot of residents and non-residents who come and talk and ask questions of our volunteers. So it's been a great resource for the town. With me tonight is Julie Lewis, the manager of the food pantry, and behind me is another resident, Robert Creed, who's a board member and volunteer at People Helping People.
Another neighbor of mine.
Another neighbor. So what we did, we started out literally, Eric, if you remember, that area was just dead. Nothing grew there. And it was through the board's effort to get us some of the loom from the middle school and some compost, and we were able to get a garden in the first year. In 2013, we did 640 pounds. And every year since then, our yields have increased. And our yields per family have increased. The People Helping People food pantry had a goal initially, and we still strive forward, of 30% of the fresh produce delivered to people in need during the growing season come from the community garden. And we have progressively increase that yield per family on average throughout the years. But we've topped out. The amount of space that we're growing in, we just, maybe 100 pounds here and there, we're never going to get a significant increase in yield in the space we're working in. And in fact, now we're falling behind because the number of families coming to the pantry is outstripped our increase in yield. So we're actually going backwards now. So we need to significantly increase the size of the volunteer garden. And when your handout, you have a image that looks like this. That shows you we actually have been able to figure out how many pounds per linear foot we can deliver from this garden. And again, the only way we can increase it is by moving the hill, which is behind the garden, back another 40 feet, leaving 30 feet of hill still as a buffer between the garden and the residents on Laurel Lane. So from the perspective of the people in Laurel Lane, they won't see any difference. They won't see any difference in the increase in the garden. The sight lines and everything remain the same from Laurel Lane. But from the garden side, we pick up 50%, an additional 50%, with a projected yield of almost 5,200 pounds.
Wow.
If going up from 4,000, so it's over an 1,100 pound increase in yield if we can get that area cleared. And like Bob said, DPW, if we can get the trees taken down, DPW will do the excavation work. And as a historical commissioner, that's great because I need soil over behind the West School to build a shed. So I know exactly where that soil is going to go from the school grounds. And we do have a contractor who might be willing to take the trees down for us. But what we need is your endorsement to move forward.
Again, Madam Chair, we've been part of these conversations for a while. Because it's a school property, it would require a school committee vote to move forward. We've been partnering with Community Garden, Mr. Capola, for getting up over 10 years. Yeah, so it's been a long time. So I would support this request and ask the school committee to approve the community garden expansion.
Did you say expense?
Expansion, not expense.
Expansion, okay. So I want to ask the committee members if they have any questions or comments, and then I have a question. Go ahead.
When do you anticipate the work starting?
As soon as in a couple of weeks, if we need the approval first. The contractor who's willing to cut down the trees wants to know that they're not going to get yelled at if they try to take the trees down. So they want to know that they have authority to do that.
And the growing season is coming up really quick on us, so we'd like to get the work done soon.
Great. And I know the Francis Wyman Garden Club is running at this time. Will the garden club still be able to meet during the time?
Oh, yeah, and actually, I have a project for them. We're
Great.
going to try to double the size of the pollinate garden in front of the school garden.
Awesome.
We have a grant request into the Ames Tool Company, so we're hoping to get $200 worth of children's-sized tools, and do that project with them in the garden club. So we have a lot of organizations that have participated and do participate. We get about a dozen business groups come in, volunteer every year to work in the complex. That's why it looks so good. We have so many people coming in and helping to maintain it. So yeah, the school will still actively go, and we're actually going to get more involved in the school garden too, keeping it maintained during the summer.
Great. Thank you.
Jeremy?
Support the project, just making sure there's no other conservation committees or any other committees that need to be consulted for taking trees down, moving earth, disturbing that. We're not messing with any wetlands, anything like that.
Nope.
Okay, thanks.
Melissa?
I also am happy to support it. I'm just curious, you have like the two numbers under 2025? Is that just like the low estimate and the high estimate?
If we do nothing this year.
Oh, okay, that's the
That's
41.
probably 4,100 pounds, and you
Okay.
can see our yield per family will drop again.
I see.
If we can get it, we're not going to hit the 5,200, but if we get that expansion in,
Okay.
by next year, we should be able to be over 5,000 pounds.
Okay, awesome.
This year will be spent more getting the site prepared and worked, and
Okay.
our yield for years of rocks was greater than our yield of vegetables. It was only,
Just like my garden.
Catherine?
No, I mean, I'm in support of it too, and I think they pretty much covered the questions I had, so thank you.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions. The last time we talked, there was some concern about funding to get the trees down. Did you really find someone who's going to do it?
Yes.
Wow. Wow, that's great.
There's a landscaping company that has been very generous to people helping people. They donate, on top of, funds to us, they also donate the mulch every year. So, yeah.
That's wonderful. And the other thing, I'm just wondering, you would talk to me just tonight about an extra few feet.
Well, just the further, we're showing a 30-foot buffer.
Yeah.
Which the hill, but there's an additional 5 feet that we could take out before we hit another large group of trees.
Right.
And if we could just make that 25-foot buffer instead of a 30-foot buffer, then that's another 400 or 500 pounds.
Well, I have no problem with that if the committee doesn't, and there are no rules and regulations anywhere that would prohibit it.
No, the school properties are zoned residentially.
Right.
So the only limiting factor would be if you were to put, say, a shed on the property near the stone wall, which is over 300 years old.
So you're not going to do that?
No, but you can't go within 10 feet of that stone wall. So that's the only setback requirement is a structure. But realistically, we could clear all of that up, and I'm not proposing we do. I don't want the residents of Laurel Lane to get upset.
No, I understand. I just want to make sure you get what you want tonight. And is that a certain number of feet that we should?
If you say it's okay to do it, we won't even have to do it this year. I can do it over years.
Okay.
With volunteers, just digging it out by hand.
Okay.
I move that we permit the expansion of the community garden at Francis Wyman, the People Helping People Victory Garden at Francis Wyman School to clear the hill to allow for a 25-foot buffer. Sound good?
Great,
Is that
thank
good?
you.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Keep growing. Nice work. Okay. You want to go back to the regular agenda?
If you want to go back to the regular agenda, just with some comments, is the agenda sort of was like a Christmas tree. We sort of, things, I went away and things got added. And I think it's important that we set aside enough time to talk about the schedule and calendar. So if anything requires, I'm probably going to try to push more than I normally do. But I'd really like to start our executive session before 9, and just so people are fresh. So if we have to push something, we'll do that. I already talked to Cheyenne. I will introduce the budget tonight, but the document will, we're going to be adding a meeting on April 1st when Nicole is feeling better, and all the detail is there. You all have the detail. So we'll make sure there's a lot of public conversation about the details coming up. So with that, getting into the agenda.
Out-of-state travel?
We have 3 out-of-state travel requests. So I'll sort of get into those right now. Make sure I find my place. I say the first one is for our Director of Mental Health. Ms. Concession is being asked to speak at a conference. There we go. Thank you. To attend the 2025 Innovation Institute Conference in Maryland, National Harbor. The dates of the conference will be July 7th through the 10th. And again, she'll be away from the district on the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, and she will be speaking at the conference. And again, the Training Institute is gathering of experts and leaders to focus on federal, state, and local levels to transform public systems, programs, services for children, youth, young adults, and their families. And the sort of the theme of the Training Institute is building a world where young people thrive. So again, the anticipated cost is included in the Curriculum Instruction Office budget. It's around $2,500. It's recommended the committee vote to approve the out-of-state travel for Ms. Concession at the 2025 Innovation Institute in Maryland, where she will be speaking.
Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Again, Ashad Khan is the Robotics Club advisor. He is going to be taking a group of students to attend a competition in Rhode Island next week. There's no cost except for the hotel, which will be self-paid by the students. Recommending that the committee approve the out-of-state travel to Rhode Island for the Robotics Club.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Any question or comment? Hope they have a good time. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, final out-of-state travel is for our exceptionally successful DECA students who will be attending the international conference. So Ms. Krista Anderson is requesting approval for the DECA students and 3 chaperones to attend DECA's International Career Development Conference in Orlando, Florida, from April 26th, which is a Saturday of break, through May 1st. Students will travel. It has what their travel plans are. And then what the cost, I think, in your packet is going to be about $1,100 per student. And we're also using some existing activity funds to reduce that cost when needed. There are 17 students that will be competing and participating in the Leadership Academies this year. And again, based on the rules for chaperones, we need 3 chaperones to attend, and that would be Ms. Trouvé, Ms. Anderson, who are the advisors, and Daniela D'Souza, who has volunteered to go. Recommend that the school committee vote on the DECA students and 3 chaperones to attend the International Career Development Conference in Orlando, Florida. I believe this is the 4th or 5th year that you all have approved students attending, and it's just because of their outstanding success at the state level. So again, I strongly support the committee approving this trip.
So moved. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Oh, aye. I have to say that loud.
Some hardware. Tell them to bring home some hardware.
We will. Tell them to bring home some hardware. We will do so.
All right, the next item is approval of 25-26 after-school program tuition rates.
All right, let me get there.
You have that?
I do have it. Ms. Haverty, Diane Haverty, and the Nicole Kasha work on the rates for the before and after school program every year. And so the rates that were proposed are in front of you for both the in-school tuition rates and the summer rates. Anyway, I think in the detail, in the backup, it told you that the elementary rates will be staying the same. The middle school rates will be matching the elementary rates, and I believe the school vacation rates are going up $10 per day. So I believe that requires the school committee to vote to approve the changes. And again, this is not, this is the program working with Nicole to make sure that the program can operate as contracts as expenses go up.
You want to vote on this?
I do want to vote on this.
Go ahead.
I'm in favor of the increase. I think this still is less expensive than some other day camps and things like that, so I'm very supportive of the increase. It's a high-quality program. I love that they're keeping the tuition the same for the annual tuition, so that's awesome. The only comment I have, and I don't know if Diane's on the phone or we take it back, but I don't love that the last day of Summer Central is August 1st, especially if we talk about starting school after Labor Day. That's 4 weeks of no care for some of these students. So I don't know if there's anything we can do to do at least one more week. I think ending on, I understand that they need some time before school starts, and I know the college kids go back to school, but August 1st seems awful early for it to be the last day.
It does.
But I'm happy to vote today on the
On the rates,
dollar
and then we
amount.
can
Yes.
come back and I can fill you in on maybe the end date, and I'm sure it would just depend on availability of the staff. So I will ask Ms. Haverty to see if she can extend beyond August 1st.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the new rates?
Second.
I just had one question before the rates. What's the cost driver behind this? I get it. It's only $10 a person, but if you get a couple hundred students over there over 6 weeks, you're looking at $10,000 to $15,000 is the cost increase. What's the driver? Are we adding services? Are we adding more trips? Or is it just strictly operating costs? Because it's not really spelled out in here, and I'd like to see that a little bit of detail before I vote on a cost increase.
Again, how it was presented to me, Mr. Brooks, through the chair, was it's just operational cost expenses. They already feel like they have the programming that they're going to continue with I think just everything's getting more expensive. So I do think it was a reasonable increase. I think they're very careful about it, and again, that's how it was presented to me, and I supported the increase.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Unanimous. Next item. The school calendar.
Okay.
Here we are.
Here we are. So, presented a calendar, felt like a while ago, and did a community survey over break, provided the committee with results. We basically had 3 versions. We had version 1, 1A, and 2. I initially recommended version 1A, again, a secular calendar that had a before Labor Day start and a 2-week winter break. Feedback was from the committee was as the conversation continued, and so I tried to include all of the committee input into the current calendar that's before you. At some point, I'm going to say we need a calendar. This doesn't discount for our audience members any discussion about early release days. This is just a start date, end date. We just need to get a start date and end date and some vacation days. So we're not precluding that conversation. So the calendar in front of you has a post-Labor Day start. So the first day for students grades 1 to 12 would be Tuesday, September 2nd. First day for pre-K and K would be Monday, September 8th. We did take one of the PD days out of the calendar year and move that before the start of the year, so staff would be reporting on Tuesday, August 26th. There'd be convocation, a setup day, or convocation, a PD day, a setup day, Friday of Labor Day weekend off, Monday off, and again, first day for grades 1 to 12 would be September 2nd. We did shorten winter break, so 23rd would be our last day. Students would return for school on January 2nd, so that would be, again, they'd come back for one day on that Friday. And then we did add Good Friday as a no-school day, and that takes us to last day of school without snow days being June 17th. That gives us one cushion day. Ms. Massardo. And then
Only get snow once.
we can get snow once.
Doesn't only have to snow once. It's
Understand, and we hopefully are done with the snow this year. I shouldn't say that, but hopefully. And so that would allow us to end school prior to Juneteenth and not get into that 4th week of June. So again, I can do this 100 different ways. This tried to incorporate the priorities from many of you all, the individuals that sort of we talked about. And at this point, we just, I need to get a calendar out. And again, if this incorporates the committee feedback that I received, I would request that you adopt the calendar for the 2025-2026 school year for both teachers and students.
Okay, let's do this with a little formality. So if there is a member who would like to make a motion to approve this calendar, and if there's a second, then we can have discussion before we vote. whether or not we vote on it. Does anyone want to adopt this calendar?
I'll make a motion to adopt draft 2 as presented this evening.
Okay,
Second it, so we can have discussion.
so it's moved and seconded for discussion. Discussion. Melissa?
So since we had the last meeting, I was approached by many parents and students begging me not to let us go too late in June. Many teachers, believe it or not, said that nobody wanted to start after Labor Day, sorry. That they felt that it was cutting it too close to go that long in June. I think that if we are going to do both Good Friday and after Labor Day, it's too close to the end in June. I don't support draft 2, especially since the majority of parents wanted to start before Labor Day. Majority of parents didn't want to have school on Good Friday. And any teacher that talked to me said that they wanted to start school before Labor Day. I'm in favor of draft 1.
Okay, anyone else have a comment? Anyone else have any discussion? All right, well, I don't have any comments either. Do you want to just put it to a vote? It'll either pass or fail? Okay, all those in favor of this calendar as presented, please say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed, please say no.
No?
Okay, 3-2.
Okay.
Next item on our agenda. Out-of-state travel policy discussion, Eric?
Yeah, Madam Chair, my suggestion with this is that if we want to put together a policy subcommittee, Ms. Massardo asked for the policies and why we need school committee permission for out-of-state travel. Some of that travel may actually be closer out-of-state than if it were in-state, so it's not a distance thing. I think, Mrs. Monaco, you said it was the impetus behind it was largely a communication tool, so people sort of knew where people were going. And again, it is a school committee policy that I shared.
So it actually says except required for tournaments, competitions, or contests. And that's, I feel like, all we approve.
There's field trips that you have approved, and there's other events. I do believe that we added that because sometimes the competitions are such that they happen too quickly, and so that I can approve that. If someone wins a state tournament and they're going to go to the New England tournament and there's no school committee meeting in place, then I can sort of make that approval, and typically I'll communicate that to the committee afterwards. So it's more a timing thing. But again, I included the policies in your packet, or Mary Ann did a nice job doing some of the research for your policies. My suggestion, if you'd like the policy to change, you can certainly make suggestions. I can schedule a policy subcommittee meeting, and then we can bring those changes to the full committee if that's something that you really want to discuss. This tends to be a bit of a busier time with out-of-state, just because we have more sort of end-of-the-year kind of stuff. But again, certainly up to the committee as to how you want the policy written and how you want it executed.
Yeah, the whole point of it, I remember when the policy was first implemented, and there was discussion about travel that was going on that people didn't know about, and it wasn't publicized, and how much money was being spent, and where was the money coming from. And so this policy was put in place, and it's only for out-of-state travel. I mean, there's travel around in-state, but the whole point of it was just to be transparent with traveling out of state and the money that's spent. But do you want to see if the Mass Association of School Committees has a policy that we might want to look at that's different, or did we already do that?
I think we looked at that when we did the policy review, and I can't say whether we use their policy or not, but it might just be a local policy. But obviously many districts require school committee approval for international travel. Again, I've seen it done many different ways, but like I said, I think they're sort of busier towards the end of the school year, but it can be manageable. It just all depends. It's the school committee's prerogative, so.
Okay, maybe Mary Ann could help us out, find out if there's a different one that MASC has. All right, so we'll carry that one over and look into it further. Any other comments on it? Okay. Elementary homework assignments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is more of an update than a sort of a formal discussion. We did receive a letter from a fifth grade student, or Madam Chair, you received a letter.
Yes, his name
and
is
he
Mulan.
was, I believe he wasn't thrilled with homework, and so you asked us to look into the elementary homework practices, and so Dr. Chen did some research. We also have some experts here in the room that we can call on, and again, I think it was, I think the intention behind the homework is more important than probably some of the homework itself, but Dr. Chen, what did you find?
So last year, through the chair, one of the things that you had asked for us to look at is to streamline the 4 student handbooks, right? And so that's been done. So there's one student handbook, and the 4 principals came together, and a long time ago, it was based on minutes, but what ended up happening is some kids take longer than others. So they didn't think it was fair. So one of the things that they did, and it was put in the student handbook, is that all homework expectations for the upcoming school year are made present to parents on back-to-school night. They even have this on page 31 of the one student handbook that all 4 elementary schools have. And the purpose of homework is to review and reinforce skills and lessons taught during the school day, to develop organization skills, and develop and increase independence and responsibility. Each teacher has created a classroom procedure that reinforces and supports a child's ability to pass in and take down homework assignments. And in speaking to the teachers and speaking to the principals, if there are questions about homework, then what we have always said is that your best person to ask is the teacher, and that is the protocol.
Okay, well, I hope that satisfies my friend, the fifth grader that wrote.
Again, I would just reiterate what Dr. Chen said. If there's an issue with homework, I think the parent can reach out to any of their child's teachers who'll be more than reasonable at the elementary level to make sure that that's appropriate. I think executive functioning is a critical skill, organizational skills, and like I said, I think it's less necessarily about sometimes the exact homework as opposed to just the responsibility of following through. But again, you have experts in the room if you want to hear about it, but I'm not sure there's anyone who is basing any sort of type of elementary grading on homework performance. So
Just a quick question. Do the fifth graders get a lot of homework? No. Okay.
Definitely not unreasonable for my daughter, when she brings it home.
and I think that's sort of the point. So.
All right. Well, we have looked into it, and if there's any problem with your homework, if it's taking too long, have your parents talk to the teacher.
That's it.
All right. Next item is field subcommittee recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to turn it to Mr. Bob.
Sure. Again, through the chair, thank you. So just want to give a quick overview of what was voted on and discussed at the Marshall-Simonds Middle School Field Renovation Committee. So some of the key takeaways are on this slide right here. Let me change this, make it a little bit bigger. And then slideshow. All right, so like I said, some of the key takeaways, turf fiber field, mixed infill would be crumb rubber and sand, an accessible walkway, a perimeter walkway, LED lighting, scoreboards, end netting, center netting, 3 new additional accessible parking spaces, and nature seating with a paved row. And then we have a couple of slides to show you what those look like. This picture right here is from the architects and the engineers. This is the existing school in this part of the picture right here. This is the back driveway. Here's the 3 accessible parking spaces that would actually come onto the field surface a little bit, not the field surface itself, but into the grass area that currently exists. You'll see in front of the 3 parking spaces is the nature seating. At least one, but we're projecting 2 of the rows are going to be hard surface, and the remaining rows will be all grass. That's natural grass, so that will grow and have to be maintained. There will be an accessible walkway from the back parking lot down to the field. The red area that you see around is just a border, but that is also all turf, along with the center as well. 2 regulation-sized turf fields, and as Mr. Brooks mentioned, they will be permanently striped for 4 sporting events, right? So that'll be boys lacrosse, girls lacrosse, soccer, and field hockey. End netting means that there will be end nets at the end of the field, on both sides of the field, to prevent any balls from leaving the playing surface. There'll also be a center net that's removable as well to prevent balls from going cross field. There will be 4 lights installed onto the property, similar to the ones that are already on the front field and also at Varsity Field. These will be LED that are focused bulbs, so that means that we'll be able to control the bleed off in the actual illumination area of the fields. So again, just another picture of what everything would look like. You'll see some of the drainage area underneath. If you don't know, this is what turf looks like. We'll be looking at a dual turf film or a dual fiber. So that means we'll actually, instead of having one single fiber strand, we'll have multiple fiber strands that act as like a wide one and a skinny one. And that gives us more of a realistic playing field as opposed to just a single fiber field. Some of the different infills, the SBR right here is chrome rubber, and we will have this dust-free silicon sand as a binder. Some other examples are different types of rubber, but we have chosen one to maintain a consistency across the 2 fields that we currently have with the proposed new field. This is an example of what the terrace seating would look like. As I mentioned, there will be grass in between these seats. They will be about 18 inches high and 10 feet from the edge all the way to the next row. Like I said, at least 1, if not 2 of the rows are proposed to be concrete, so they will be a hard surface. Those 2 rows will also be directly accessible from the accessible path as well. An example of the LED lights, and you can see the bleed-off area is really able to be dialed in, so we can illuminate exactly what's needed to be and not really have to bleed off, let's say, into the parking lot or into the neighborhood surrounding it. And that's really the end of the picture, so I don't know if Mr. Brooks has more to talk about, but I did want to mention that we have already submitted our notice of intent to the Conservation Department. We do have a meeting tomorrow night. Conservation, either at tomorrow's meeting or a future meeting, will provide us with their recommendations. If they like the plan as presented, which we're hoping they do, that means we can move on to the next step, as is going out to bid. If they do have some recommendations, then obviously, you know, pending obviously tonight's vote and depending on what Conservation has for recommendations, if they're minor engineering changes, we'd still like to proceed with going out to bid if the engineers believe that it fits within our budget, and like I said, minor engineering changes, so.
Jeremy?
Yeah, so kind of echoing what Ms. Q said, this is really just to keep the project on schedule, because going out to bid earlier in the season gets us a better price, keeps us on schedule, and then allows us to open hopefully at the end of August, but more than likely right as school opens, so it gives us about that 2-week window to keep everything on track. My impression is the Conservation Commission and others are moving forward with things. I don't see major challenges. It would be really just any amendments that would come to the vote we take tonight, so minor engineering changes that wouldn't massively or majorly change the scope or composition of this project. It would be minor tweaks for wetland drainage area locations that are going to be replicated and things like that. There's just, we have to settle on the actual locations that are north of the field, or excuse me, east of the field in this picture here. So the top of the picture as you're looking at it hasn't been finalized, so that's really the biggest hurdle. We have more than adequate space to replicate, it just hasn't been nailed down on which space they want it replicated at. And then there's conversation going on about the drainage as well, just that's been cleaned up.
Eric, what are we actually voting on? Just approving the plan?
I think you're approving that they can move forward to bid. I would also say that if pending Conservation Commission approval with minor engineering changes, that we don't have to wait till the next school committee meeting,
Okay.
that they can get it on the street as
So we need a motion that sort of says all that.
I would say, my motion would be that the middle school field project be approved by the school committee as presented with allowing for any minor changes from the Conservation Commission.
Got that, Mary Ann? Okay, thank you.
What he said, so moved.
So moved, is there a second? Okay, now any discussion?
My only discussion, again, is to thank Mr. Brooks, Mr. Cuna. We had lots of community volunteers who spent a lot of time going through the design of the field, and you had lots of night meetings that people participated in. And Ms. Altman was an active participant.
Myrna?
So Myrna was there, so along with the other members, and I just wanted to make sure we thanked them for their participation, and I think the result is going to be something the community can be really proud of and get a lot of use out of.
I have one question for Jeremy, really. Are you happy with how this is?
I think it's going to be a really great field. It allows tons of flexibility. The center netting, which we were able to fit in, allows for mixed use, so now you can do a soccer game and a lacrosse game at the same time, where we had changed around a few things that didn't allow that, because obviously there's a safety factor when lacrosse balls are flinging around and there's kids playing soccer. There's adequate safety runoff for everything. We built in as much accessibility as we could, so I think it really becomes a space that the town can use. And then the additional walkway on the outside gives parents that are there for practices another place to walk and watch games from.
Okay, so there's nothing that you feel got left out? No. Okay. No one has any further discussion. We'll put it to a vote. All those in favor? Is there anyone opposed? It's unanimous.
It's very quick.
Next item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next item is the Summer Enrichment Program, and Dr. Shen has been working with our summer school leadership, and they are, this is more of just an update. They're going to make some changes to the Summer Enrichment Program that Dr. Chen will discuss now.
It's more about, they've done a nice job since last year of including robotics, music, library, social emotional learning. And what they hope to do, instead of having two weeks program, is just to have one 4 weeks program that is focused on literacy, but literacy enhancement. The prices have stayed the same since 2018, about $150 per week. But instead of signing up for 2 weeks, they're asking parents to please, if you're interested in this camp, to sign up for 4 weeks, and they need payment ahead of time. In the past, before they've had to chase down money, it's been very hard. We just want to streamline the process. The payment is not in dollars, but one check for the 4 weeks amount, and yes, we'll still be giving scholarships for folks who need it based on academics and also based on merit. But again, it's always been $150 each week. We're just not going to be doing it 2 weeks, and then if you sign up for 4 weeks, you get a $75 discount, only because it really does take 4 weeks to run this type of literacy program. That's it.
Okay,
Question.
sure.
I don't want to beat a dead horse on this, but are we signing up for this soon?
It's gone out.
Okay.
There was a parent square on it with all these changes. I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware.
Okay, and last year I know folks got notified saying your child should take this, or based on their scores, we recommend this, but in like May and June. So are we doing that now?
We're hoping to do that much earlier, but the first thing is just to have the process be streamlined.
Okay, but we're going to start identifying students like yesterday?
Yeah, we're going to start sooner, and we're starting to notify folks, but we also want to wait for when the iReady assessment comes, but you will have a good understanding. We'll recommend, and then we'll give a final recommendation. But I would say that signing up for this program is a good program anyhow, because it's both helping students intensify their skills, but it's also an enhancement program as well, too.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the changes that were just outlined for the summer enrichment program?
Again, Madam Chair, I'm not even sure we need a vote on that. We were just informing the committee.
Okay.
We would welcome a vote if you want to take one, but.
We don't need a vote, we don't need a vote.
I don't believe we need a vote.
Okay, next item. Journey to Cares?
Journey to Cares, Madam Chair.
Yes, Journey to Cares. All right, Journey to Cares will be under
Time
5
you tonight?
minutes. Yes, you can time me. All right, so let's get it up there first. I've worked to cut it down and so on the first, if you don't mind, on the first slide, which is just the Journey to Cares, that's not the slideshow.
Send me the slideshow. You didn't send me the slideshow. Who sent me that?
And I'm pretty sure it did, but let me. I think I did, but it's okay. I'll send it to you again. And I apologize for this.
No problem.
I apologize. Please don't hold me. Please don't count this as part of my time,
Clock is running.
okay? Mr. Kuna, I apologize. Do you have it now, sir?
Now I got it.
Thank you. Thank you. So on that slide, just wanted to provide some information, but you can see more of the entire presentation on the website. And before we begin the slideshow, I just wanted to highlight some amazing work that our BPS teams are accomplishing this month. The Business and Finance team developed the budget for fiscal year '26. The Communication team tested the emergency urgent alert systems over February break. The English K through 8 team collaborated with the Director of Special Education, Christina Ciccolini, on landmark outreach, lingual-based training, and professional development in learning communities. HR continued their work to implement a new absence and substitute management system that's going to be underway for next year. The Informational Technology team worked with the town of IT to plan out the 5-year infrastructural refresh. The Mental Health team worked to coordinate a district-wide MTSS needs assessment that will occur. It's been funded by DESE, and it's a grant working with the American Institute of Research. The nursing team completed Pine Glen and middle school postural screenings. Operations team, there's a new building, security devices installed. Thank you, Bob Kuna. Special education team, Unified Bowling is off and running. They'll have their last game sometime next week. The Students Information Office team completed data entries for incoming kindergarten students. And now for our slides. In slide 1, the math specialist and math teachers met with Dr. Kateri Thunder on understanding by design and coaching. As you can see, the digital learning team hosted nearly 200 students and family members for the annual pre-K through 5 computer science family night. Sean Musselman is there, featured with a Bebots and Stella, and many of our students gave Stella a stomach scratch. Attended a science lesson with Wendy Pavlicek on snake feeding and grade 5 students at Francis Wyman. And want to thank Middlesex District Attorney Marion Ryan for reading to our grade 3 students at Francis Wyman and Read Across America. Next slide, please. Wendy Pavlicek worked with grade 3 students at Fox Hill on hereditary and trait lessons using live cockroach observations, and they are very slimy. Wendy Pavlicek also brought in Arenia, Mexican red-knee tarantula, to the middle school grade 7 and 8 book clubs. Next slide. English Learner Education, congratulations to Victoria McCormick for the BHS Inspiration Award winner. And thank you to Gloria Watasik, who has strengthened partnerships with Help Us, People Helping People, and Burlington Youth and Family Services, and supporting vulnerable families. And finally, in our last slide, wherever there's pizza, you will see one Dr. Eric Conti. Do you see him in the back? The Access Post-Test Pizza Party celebration of students who attended the optional practice test sessions and students who volunteered answers received a BHS t-shirt, and thanks to Principal Mark Sullivan for his support.
Thank you, Dr. Chen. I do want to just say a special thanks to the Kings Bowling in Burlington, because they are hosting our unified bowling events on Monday afternoons, and I think they have 8 or 9 bowling teams from across the Middlesex League who are competing at Kings on Monday afternoons.
And I will say that we're going to top Lexington next year. We're going to have our own beautiful bowling shirts.
So we're going to have bowling shirts.
Oh, all right.
It's on.
Sounds like a challenge.
It's on. Our shirts are going to be better looking.
So,
Okay.
again, Madam Chair, moving on to the financial report. Again, Nicole is not here today, but I did speak with her, and again, we're on track. You can see the numbers. She had no concerns as of expenditures through March, and again, if she didn't point anything out to me to highlight to the committee, and I think that we're on track. So if there's any particular questions, you can send me an email, or you're welcome to contact Nicole, and she'll
We
get
can
them
ask her
answered.
at the next meeting, too.
You can ask her at the next meeting.
Okay, any questions on finance that Eric can't answer? Okay. Moving on. Building rental rate increase.
Again, the building rental is something that Nicole and Bob sort of track pretty carefully, and so Nicole is asking for a rate increase, and the rates help cover the cost of the expenses that are associated with building rentals through our labor contracts. Bob, do you have anything else you want to comment on with the building rental? These are the recommendations put forward by
Yeah, the only thing I want to add to that is that these rates have not been increased for 7 years. So it's about time.
Yeah, we have to do it. So again, I recommend the committee vote on the building rental rate increase as proposed in your package.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Oh, second?
Why am I not seeing them?
It's right here.
Oh, because I've got the wrong thing on the,
It's like
Okay.
an hourly rate for December.
I don't know anything about the rates. Are they reasonable?
Yes, and they cover the cost of the
Custodian?
contracts that we have to cover.
Okay.
It's 7.5.
It's been moved and seconded. Question, Jeremy?
Yeah, just have these communicated out to the youth sports that utilize them, so they're aware these are coming as they start signups for the year, because I know some sports have already done that, so it's going to increase their cost for running programs here, and, are they going to be able to absorb that cost this season, or when are we instituting those, I guess, is just the timing of this.
Again, I'm not sure the communication that's occurred. I'm sure once you vote, it will certainly communicate out the new rates, and then it may be reflected in the community custodial amounts that we are asking for town meeting to support. So we'll get to that when we do our warrants.
Any other questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? It's unanimous. Next item. Fox Hill Building Committee, Melissa?
I don't have an update. We haven't had a meeting since the last school committee meeting.
Well, we had a major submission of the almost completed design documents, and so we're waiting to hear back from the MSBA. I think we've had some communication, and I think the design is moving along, and it actually has been, I think, very impressive. And once we get approval, then I think we're on track on the timeline, and I do think the estimates came in, given the design documents, and we're still sort of working on the budget that we had proposed. So I think it was good news all around, and we're still making positive progress.
Okay, next item, BHS update. Catherine.
So our next meeting is Thursday, March 13th at 6:30 in this room.
Next item, facilities. Bob, you got anything on facilities?
Nothing new to add.
Nothing new for Pine Glen?
There'll be something new for Pine Glen as part of the capital warrant, so we'll have that conversation when we do warrants.
Okay. Transportation?
Nothing new to add.
Okay. Warrant article discussion.
Okay, so just before we get started on warrant articles, just want to introduce the warrant articles as really part of the fiscal '26 budget process. So these are the warrant articles. I think, Bob, we did more work prioritizing the warrant articles from our perspective. Obviously, the school committee can create whatever priorities that they would like, and we are still over what the town has asked us to sort of to the threshold to.
What are the numbers?
Well, again, we might as well just jump into it, Bob, so we'll get to the numbers.
What is the town asking us to?
Right around 2.5 million, and I think is what they're asking, and we're currently at about, what, 3.4? So 3.8.
So what you have in front of you tonight is similar to what you had last week. There's just a short description column added to that. I will, and I am preparing a full document, which you have seen in the past, which will have all the supporting documents that will go to town meeting. I just don't not have it ready for tonight's meeting, but you will have that email before the next meeting. Again, this has not been prioritized in what you have in front of you, but what I do have up on the screen puts them into a priority that we see fit. Not trying to bias any of you all into agreeing with that, but as you can see, the K-8 literacy is a high priority for us. Building envelopes, as Dr. Conti just mentioned, for Pine Glen and Francis Wyman. So that would be new vestibules at each one of those buildings are a higher priority for us. Security upgrades, replacing the wave control units in all of our buildings. Again, I can read all of them, or I can kind of go through them one by one, but.
Bob, can you just
Pause for a
quickly
second.
go through sort of one by one, because I think some warrant discussion and others don't, or, again, the turf replacement is not for any particular field, but what we were trying to do is create a smaller amount that is sort of every 10 years would allow us to replace a turf field and get on some sort of cycle. So, Mr. Brooks, it was sort of aligned to your effort to not ask for roughly $1 million every time a turf field needs to get replaced. We sort of know the life cycle. We might get 1 or 2 years on either side, but if there's a fund that is a part of our capital warrants every year, then at least we're acknowledging we understand there's
How
maintenance.
can you do that?
How can we're not sure, so the town is looking into the mechanism for doing that, but if they may hold the fund, or it just might be a communication vehicle, so I'm
It's
not.
like the paving fund that they use in town, similar idea, so they sequester a portion of money, and that money can.
Yeah,
be
no,
used
I
each year to do that, yeah.
understand that it's like that. The schools have never done it, so it's kind of a new thing for schools.
We haven't, but just like our technology infrastructure, I think it's sort of a great way to go, and again, the town will control the funds until they're expended, so it's really not anything they would need to worry about. I think
Right.
we're just communicating that we know that as we put in new artificial facilities, that we know that they have a life cycle and that we're going to be, we're trying to be proactive about that life cycle.
Okay, before you go on, did you say these are prioritized?
They are not. We had
So-
talked about prioritizing. and-
No change from the last meeting?
The sheet that you have is not prioritized, so there is no change. The only column that's been added is the short description.
Okay,
So, and again, the priority list that you will see will be the literacy curriculum, which will be our number one, is what we're saying.
okay.
And so,
When will we see that?
I can share it after the meeting, or I can put it up on the screen, or I can share it after the meeting, or all the above, but
Quick question.
yes.
Pressure washing BHS, is that a safety or an aesthetic issue?
That's an aesthetic issue.
All right, go ahead. Do you want to go through them, Bob?
Sure. So we just did the turf replacement. School facilities audit is an update to our master plan or school facilities audit that we currently have completed in 2017. That takes an in-depth look at the buildings, looks at the mechanical systems, the structural, any code compliance concerns, gives us a book at the end of it that says, here's where the current building stands. We currently use that for a lot of our planning and future improvements of the buildings. Next is a Green Communities BMS. So BMS stands for Building Management System. We were granted a $250,000 grant from Green Communities grant process, but that requires us to match it. So we have submitted work that would include building management systems at Pine Glen and Francis Wyman, also upgrade some variable frequency drive pumps that work for the HVAC system as well. And those estimates came in at just about $501,000, plus the $250,000 grant is the request in front of you for that $251,000 to complete that. So the next one is a network equipment E-rate. As Dr. Conti mentioned, for at least the past 10 years, if not longer, we have a 5-year plan that we work with the town to do a network refresh. That is coming up, but what happens is on the school side, we have E-rate money, which is available to us, which is also a matching grant. Even though the funds come from the town, this equipment technically has to be installed in the schools. We are working with the town right now where they may cover this grant under the total request, but we still would have to bill it separately just to make sure that the E-rate is eligible for the school department. So this is a matching grant of $573,000. So the funding mechanism, we're not too concerned about, but at the same time, in order to take advantage of $573,000 worth of equipment, we would have to match those funds.
which is, we were going to expend that money anyway, just with the town in another way, by identifying the equipment that's going to be in schools as a part of this larger purchase. We may be eligible for the E-rate funding. There is some talk about E-rate funding being discontinued, so we're going to watch that pretty closely. And in any case, we're on the cycle to upgrade our network infrastructure.
Is it a federal thing as
Yes.
opposed to state?
Yes.
Yeah, good luck. Okay, moving on.
Get it while you can.
The next one is power washing. We have had numerous requests to pressure wash some of our buildings, one of them being the high school and being the largest building. We did use that for the quoting purposes. So the quote in front of you is to pressure wash the high school. That is an outside company that would come in and do the work, definitely not something that our in-house crew could handle at a timely or fashionable or safe rate. So the next is tree maintenance. I think I've discussed this. If not, I'd love to take the time to discuss it, is that we have 280-plus acres of property that are just school by themselves, and there are lots and lots of trees on there. Typically, the rec department does work with us to maintain as many trees as they can, but when it's outside of their scope or capabilities, then we look to outside companies. That impacts my operating budget. And knowing that we have a lot that we're watching right now and a lot that have been taken out already in the past few years, I'm looking at this as a fund to help offset that and control my operating budget.
And this really is a safety issue. It's not, again, aesthetics. This is a safety issue, especially with some of the trees that are close to the buildings and close to some of the play areas that just need to be trimmed up or come down.
Correct.
The town doesn't really have an arborist. They don't really have anyone to do this work.
Yeah, well, again, so the Recreation Department does have equipment and does have a lift truck, but at some point it becomes a safety concern and what their capabilities are, depending on the size and height of the tree. And of course, those are the ones that typically want to fall over in our parking lots or playgrounds, are the large ones, not necessarily the small ones. So definitely it would be an outside vendor. Building envelope and vestibule, as we just mentioned, Pine Glen and Francis Wyman. This would be installing 2 building construction vestibules on the front entrances of both of those buildings. So that would provide a secure entranceway, which would allow or an increase of traffic flow inside. Currently, we're closing the interior doors, which limits access in between the building, which is great for safety, but not great for, small students and staff that need to transverse, between different parts of the building. So this would provide a safe vestibule definitely for any guests coming to the property.
So Bob, for the audience members behind you, it would be like a glass cube that extends out in front of the building that people would need to enter, get buzzed in with a camera.
Correct. Yep. Next is curriculum K-8 literacy. I will not do it justice if I try to explain it. If Dr. Chen wants to chime in, please. If not, I think you guys have already heard a lot about what the intentions are.
Yep. I think we know what it is. If you want to say something, go ahead, Lisa.
No, it's just I'm very thankful for all the teachers on part of the literacy task force to go through that process, so thank you.
All right, thank you. So next up is backup generator replacement. So this is at Memorial. You're going to ask me, is Memorial new? And I'm going to say it is, but it was actually built in 2011. A generator was installed in 2010. So I've already hit 15 years on that generator. It has not been the healthiest generator for us, and we've sunk a lot of money into it, so we definitely feel that replacing it is the best path to move forward. This is a life cycle system, so it definitely is something that we need. Next up is boiler room maintenance. So this is targeted at Pine Glen. This is basically to work in the maintenance of the boiler room, expansion tanks and electrical, just to make sure that the building stays current and functioning. Next is middle school furniture. This is to expand furniture in the library. So the middle school library is taking on different uses now, and what we're looking for is not permanent, but track wall system, and new tables and new seating, along with new portable bookshelves as well. So this has been provided from the library and Director of Technology Integration.
Can I ask a question?
Please do.
So what do you mean it's taking on new functions?
So the library holds classes in it now, and not as a full-time class, but just at the way that comes in. So it's not necessarily students just coming in, taking out books, and I'm not insulting librarians.
No, I'm just wondering why is the change? Is there's an overcrowding problem?
Yeah, I think they're doing more tutoring up there. I think they have some
All right.
small group instruction. They have class projects.
So it's an overcrowding problem?
Well, partly, but they also think they are using libraries more. They need flexible furniture. So any library that we're designing now, typically the bookshelves move. And that's been the case at Francis Wyman. I think that we have new bookshelves in. I think the Fox Hill design is going to be flexible. And so we're just honestly modernizing the instructional space that is the Connors Learning Commons.
Beautiful room.
Can I ask a question while you're paused?
Yep.
The memorial generator, is that diesel too?
That one is gas, so that one has a gas enclosure.
Do we have an
Gas
option to
tank.
make it diesel or no?
We could, but it would be a lot more costly.
Okay.
Yeah, not only that, but then it would, we would have
They
to change.
preferred the diesel.
Change the
Okay,
enclosure,
all right,
the pad,
all right,
everything, so
okay.
it's not really
That's what makes it
recommended.
more money? Okay.
Yeah. So
Continue.
Yep, next is HVAC maintenance. So this one is targeting Francis Wyman as the main, but then also some split units in addition to. So this would be adding air conditioning to Francis Wyman cafeteria, art room, music room, and then some auxiliary rooms that are in Francis Wyman, and then 6 additional split units that are in need of either replacement or addition to throughout the district.
I have a question about that. So I understand that there's some rooms in Francis Wyman, like speech classrooms, OT, that do not have air conditioning. Are we targeting those spaces in this project?
I will have to get back to you specifically.
Okay.
So we can change the target, but right now there's 6 additional split units, and I'm not exactly sure where those classrooms that you're talking about.
Yeah.
But if they're in that wing, it could be targeted on behind the auditorium side of it, and then on the cafeteria side, there'll be some targeted as well there.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
yep. And then next up is scoreboards and audio. So this is to upgrade some existing scoreboards at the BHS wooden gym and rubber gyms. These existing scoreboards are close to 20 years old, And the athletics director has made a recommendation to upgrade these. Next up is an intercom system. So this is, again, targeted at Fox Hill, and you're going to say, we're getting a new building, and I'm going to agree with you, but the unit that's there, also more than 20 years old, is not functionally sound. We have had to put some maintenance and repairs into it consistently. It is currently functioning now, but the unit has been deemed end of life 4 or 5 years ago. Usually when something is end of life, it just means that getting service and getting parts for it become a lot more difficult. So while we have been able to, we can't necessarily promise that the future of that is going to last us 3 years, just like to be ahead of it. If we were to get this, this unit would not go to waste once the new building is done. This is definitely something, because it's the head unit, that we could definitely use in a future building.
And again, the intercom in this case, I would say, is a safety decision.
And you said you'd take it out when they demolish the school.
Where would you put it?
In the meantime, or where could it go?
No, where could it go?
I mean, it could go into Pine Glen, it can go into Francis Wyman. It would
Right.
be partial for the high school, but we would need a second one for the high school. But because it's the head unit, it would be the brains behind the intercom system. So we could definitely use it in all 5 of our other schools.
Okay,
Does moving that require infrastructure replacement for the downstream pieces of that system? So like if we move this head unit to Pine Glen, do we have to replace all the downstream speakers, leads, control units, all that stuff, or is it like a plug and play kind of thing?
It depends. So typically what this will have is, because it's the head unit, it's the brains. Then they all feed amplifiers, and all the wires and speakers come off the amplifiers in all of our schools. So it would not require replacing it would not require replacing the speakers, the wiring, or the amplifiers in the current schools.
Thanks.
Next is security upgrades. So this would be to replace the wave security control units at all 6 buildings. Again, we have 6 schools, 6 wave controls. That's the blue buttons that we push. Also the safety notification system for our lockdown system. So these are 10 years old. They do have an end of life, which we haven't hit yet, but we are approaching that, and it definitely makes sense to get ahead of it with something as safety as this. I want to pause there because there's 3 additional warrant articles, but it's something that we will have to talk about as a community, and whether or not this committee would like to see these at all, would like to see them inside of the school committee request. In particular, if we look at MSMS Field Phase 2, last year at town meeting, we presented to the town meeting to request to replace both the front and the back field at Marshall Simonds. Town meeting split that into 2 projects, which means the front field came off of that. So it would make sense to put this back onto that same request, outside of school request, but that's all up to you. Next is a middle school field bathroom facility. This came also from the conversations of the middle school complex and the 3 fields that will be there. The lack of bathroom facilities at that building is what you're seeing in front of you. So in my backup, which you don't have but will, it has a full request, a whole building architect design, and drawings to put a full bathroom facility on the property. And the last one is the solar panels for Fox Hill. That came about through the conversations that we're having at the Fox Hill School Building Committee meetings. And I think the committee, along with Ways and Means, have not made a choice yet whether or not they would like to purchase and/or choose a PPA, a power purchase agreement for the solar panels. So I do think future conversations will need to be had, but I wanted to carry that for all of you to consider.
all right, Catherine.
I just wanted to go back to one. For the security upgrades, you said it's getting close to end of life. When is end of life? Is it 2 years, 1 year, 3 years?
So they haven't officially released, but we're getting word that it's 1 year.
Okay.
Yeah. And just to be clear, we're getting word from our vendor. The manufacturer hasn't officially released that, so.
Okay, any other questions? It seems like, I mean, I don't know what goes on in discussions between you and Town Hall about all of this, but, I mean, it's way over 2.5 million. So maybe at our next meeting, we could have an idea of what you think we should do and what we can manage to put off.
Yeah,
And
so Bob and I have already talked about potentially phasing in some things, going with multiple years, letting people know that, if we divide up some of the costs, that they should be predicting that they're going to see it next year. Part of the warrant is a communication vehicle from my perspective,
Yeah.
so we'll be just communicating to town meeting. We've done that a lot with the high school bathroom renovations, where we didn't ask for them all at once, but we did, I think, 4 bathrooms a year for 20 years or something, and so it
no
may be...
bathrooms on here.
No, I'm just saying, we've done that in the past
No,
where we...
but there are no
There are
bathrooms
no
on
bathrooms
here.
on here. That's because we finally finished...
Bathrooms, there's outdoor
We finally finished, we do bathrooms every year, so these are outdoor bathrooms, but they're still bathrooms. But the ones down the bottom, I think you really need to think about. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. If it is a warrant article, it will be discussed, and that might be something that you want. Obviously, the solar panels, I think, are potentially going to depend on the bid prices that we get in for the building, but again, it may be a communication starter if that's something that you would want to have happen. Bob, the other thing that I think we have to ask the committee to do or add to our warrant articles is the community custodial. Again, technically not a school committee warrant, but I think the amounts are going to be driven up because of the building rental that you just approved. And also, we've had some additional requests from some of the PTOs. So, Bob, we'd like to at least to expand that $1,000 a building for each elementary school for the PTO. So it would be at least up $4,000, but I think the amount should do that. Town meeting actually has to approve the increase, not the committee, but we want to share with you what we're asking for and why.
Okay.
And that's for, again, community-based organizations, if they want to use a building. If the support staff is in the building already, that's fine, but if it's on a time when the support staff isn't in the building and the building has to be opened, then the community would pick up those costs.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the next version of this, because everything looks reasonable, but it's a lot of money, and I don't think we're going to get it all.
No, we won't, but I think we'll prioritize, again, curriculum, health and safety, and then we'll sort of move down the list. We'll present that to you all. Bob, you're already scheduling a time with
Capital budget, yeah.
capital budget, and Cheyenne will start to incorporate these into our Ways and Means conversations that are going to be up and coming.
Can I ask the committee if there's any initial feedback, or some ones that you are in favor of, some ones that you're less in favor of?
Well, I have a question on the field, Phase 2. Are we ready for Phase 2? I think that was done as a joint rec school committee proposal, so maybe it doesn't go in our million at 2.5.
No, I don't think that would go in our 2.5.
Yeah, so is that, I mean, is it too early for
It's not
that?
added into that.
No, I
I know
know.
that it's too early. I think there's another conversation. I was going to bring it up at new business. I don't want to cloud the issue we're at hand here, but I think it comes back to that field priority matrix that Ways and Means asked for, capital budget asked for last year.
Yeah.
Now that the Recreation Committee's field master plan is back, for us to coalesce a prioritized list of outdoor spaces, fields, and whatnot that we're going to address in the order we'd like to address them. So I think that's something we need to take up.
Does this fit in right away in that,
Could go in right away. I just don't think there's appetite for it right now.
but on the priorities that you've got with the new master plan?
So Marvin Field for girls softball, I would say would be ahead of that for sure.
Got it.
100%. And then there's a couple other fields that I
Yeah, I heard
would be close
softball
on parity with
fields.
it, yeah.
Maybe 2 softball fields. Okay. Bob, you wanted input.
No, I
Anyone?
just asked if you had.
I'm not in favor of pressure washing Burlington High School.
Nor am I.
Because,
That's an easy
'Cause we're-
100K
yeah,
to remove.
It's just an aesthetic, I'm sorry, and we're working on doing something with the building that's more longer term. It looks like it's low anyway.
anyone else comment on anything?
Just to help me out and, rectifying this in my mind, like, what's been helpful in the past for me is, these broken down, you have it in priority, but then it's also like, what's mission essential, what's mission enhancing kind of thing. So these are absolutely required. These are things that are required and help us, but not necessarily a safety, life, limb, eyesight kind of thing. If we can add some clarity to that, I don't know, whatever way you want to do it, just it helps me get there.
You will have that as part of the full packet with the town meeting request cover sheet on it, and then the supporting documents with all of the materials, backups, and estimates, et cetera. So yes, you will have.
So at our next meeting, will there be further changes to this? Or maybe the budget meeting April 1st, or what do you expect?
I think administration here may put some priorities in, but I still believe that this is the committee's request. So we want to make sure that you all have input on this as well before we start pulling things off.
Yeah, we'll give you a prioritized list. I'd like to do that so you know what we're thinking. And the way you've always asked us is instead of us presenting just 2.5, I think the committee has asked for years that you want to see the sausage being made. So this is the sausage being made. So we'll have to make some reductions. We'll even tell you the reductions that we suggest.
The only problem with that is, I think, at least when I look at this, and I suspect when everyone else looks at this, is at this list, we think, wow, we really need all these things. And like, you probably know what we really need and what we don't really need and what can be put off. But to us, it's like a list of all important things. So yeah, it's nice to see the sausage, but maybe you could separate the pork from the hamburger.
Yeah, we can present you at 2.5 or 2.6 and tell you sort of what we recommend and what we took out. But in prior years, you've all asked to, well, what did you remove and why? So we're going to show, this is sort of what's been presented, and we'll tell you. And it might be something that we don't get in fiscal '26, but we'll get in fiscal '27. And Mr. Brooks, to your point, is we can say mission essential and mission enhancing. The trouble is if some of this stuff breaks, it quickly moves from enhancing to
100%.
essential. So we're trying to get ahead of it, but I'm saying we will work on it that way. And move forward. So we used to do capital warrant sort of articles last in the process, and people wanted more time. So you're seeing them much earlier, but because you're seeing them earlier, they're not as detailed or formal.
Okay.
But you will see that happening. Bob, you have a capital budget meeting scheduled for April 1st, which we're second now that you moved because of our movement. So before we get to new business, and I think we're going to be okay with sort of my thinking for time, is I did want to introduce the fiscal '26 budget this evening. Cheyenne, the budget document you should have received. We were supposed to get individual presentations from the high school, curriculum, literacy, math, social studies, music, guidance, athletics, PE and health, the science center, and art. I asked that be postponed just because of the length of the agenda. I think we need to have other conversations. But you all should have received the fiscal '26 budget. Nicole and her team does a fantastic job. The amount of detail, I think, is equal or far exceeds any other department across town. And just for the bottom line, you can see that we're working with a 4.5% guideline. And the budget requests, again, we don't filter it. We ask people to make their requests. Everything came in. Everything is in the initial budget. We're at 7.4%. And so we're going to work our way down to 4.5. The committee doesn't need to accept, again, our recommendations, but at this point, it's kind of called the superintendent's budget, and we have to make about $1.9 million of reductions in our operating budget to sort of meet guideline, fulfill our contracts, and to support our programming. And we will make those reductions, but again, the committee can agree, disagree, and sort of at some point you'll adopt the budget as your own, and that's what will be presented to town meeting. But again, what you're seeing directly what people from the cost centers, from the buildings, from the programs requested that they need to run their programs sort of ideally for next year.
Okay. Is that it?
That's the introduction to the, again, fiscal '26 budget. We are, again, we're at 7.4% currently, and we need to get to 4.5%.
Great. New business, old business, anything that anyone wants to bring? Jeremy, obviously.
Yeah, just new business for two things. One's kind of easy. Is there any appetite to rename the backfields for the school for Marsh Simonds. It's been brought up in committee that they'd like to do that. We had thought about asking Principal McMahon what his thoughts are about getting the Marsh Simonds students to do something to name that.
What do you mean by rename it?
So we have Brushfield, and there's not really necessarily a name for those two backfields, but naming the two backfields.
But the forward one remains
Correct,
Brushfield.
yeah, it remains Brushfield, and then it was just, ideas thrown around where a prominent Burlington citizen or someone you'd like to, honor from the community kind of thing with the naming of that field.
Through the chair, Mr. Brooks, I'll see if there's a naming policy. There was a policy at some
Yeah,
point
there is.
about if there was going to be signage or something, but I'll
Yeah.
look into that. If it's going to be a student contest or something like that, then I'm sure the committee can make that decision, but let me just see if there's any background on that. That would be great.
Yeah, there's kind of a tradition of not doing that very often. Like, instead of, like, who should we name it after? It's more of a, what can we name after this person?
Sure.
It's like if someone has made a huge commitment to the community and we're trying to find something to do, like the Joan Miles Library kind of thing.
Absolutely in line with what the committee's thinking. Again, I just
Yeah.
wanted to
Yeah.
bring it up to the school committee so we can
Great
just know,
idea.
hey, this is going to come to you at some point, because the committee's asked.
Even how we talk about it at town meeting, it was like, oh, the field behind, it was like
Yeah.
that place or that field behind. It was
Backfield.
the backfield or whatever, so there was never a name.
Okay,
And then the other item would be, like I alluded to earlier, just at some point, we need to coalesce our list of field priorities with Rex and their field master plan to kind of provide Ways and Means and capital budget, the documents they had asked for during the approval process last year for Marshall Simon. So coalescing those two documents at some point, and then I don't know if we need a committee to do it or if it's, the field subcommittee or whoever, but at some point, we need to come up with the list and do it in relatively short order so we can present that to Ways and Means and capital budget these are the priorities for the next, however many years that we come up with.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I think we're all so busy sometimes that unless we formalize it a little bit, it may not, it may fall off the priority list, so it may be something that we want to form a subcommittee or committee on and schedule some meetings for, because our document was dense to get through. I'm assuming the rec document was fairly dense to get through, and
Much so.
so let me give that some thought, but my first impression is we probably need to schedule some formal time. Maybe not for the full committee, obviously, but some time.
so the brush field, the front field, is that still in good shape? Like, what's going through my mind is a big what if. What if we were doing the high school and we needed the varsity to use that? Would we need it done sooner rather than later? So that's why I'm questioning.
Yeah, we're on year 12 right now of that field.
And what's the
So-
lifespan, 10?
Well, it depends on how often we use it. So it is still in good standing condition right now. It's no longer in warranty, which doesn't really mean as much, right? It just
Were
means
there
that
repairs done to the track? There were a few holes.
that has not been completed yet, no.
Okay.
So,
Well, just something to think about, that if we should end up needing to use it as varsity field for any period of time, we'd want it to be usable.
And I think the goal for that list is to mitigate competing requirements like you're talking about. So we're trying to get $1.5 million to redo Rushfield while Rec's trying to get Marvin and so on and so forth, right? Just so
Yeah.
there's some priority list and it gives clarity to folks that are, making the budgets, making the decisions.
And my
understand where we're
understanding
going.
is Marvin and one other, I think they're both softball fields, are in dire need.
That's correct.
Okay, anyone else? Public hearing, you ready for that?
I think we are, Mary Ann. You put the advertisement in the paper, so we need to have a public hearing in regards to the limited school choice vote that we discussed at our last meeting. So, Madam Chair, I'd welcome the school committee to open a public hearing on school choice.
I will entertain a motion and a vote to go into a
Open
public hearing. Yes. Did you move it?
Yes. Second.
Moved and seconded. Do I have to do roll call on this? I think I do.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to open a public hearing. Jeremy?
Yeah, yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Melissa?
Aye.
Catherine?
Yes.
Chair votes aye. We are now in an open public hearing about our decision on school choice. Anybody out there want to comment? Don't all speak at once? All right, is there anyone in the room that wants to make a comment as part of the public hearing?
And again, your vote is really to exclude school choice grades K through 8, and then you'll be allowing school choice on a limited basis. We said, what did we say, 20 students in grade 9, 10, no, it was 10 students in grade 9, 5 in grade 10, 5 in grade 11, and 5 in grade 12. And we've done that for 16 years.
Sure about that?
At this point. Yes, I'm sure at that point. So that would be the limited school choice.
Need to vote in the public hearing, or
No, we
just-
need to go
just
back
letting
out
anyone-
before we
okay.
can vote.
All right.
All right, if
I
this,
move that we exit the public hearing.
is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor of closing the public hearing, Jeremy?
Aye.
Megan?
Yes.
Melissa?
Aye.
Catherine?
Yes.
Chair votes aye. We are now out of the public hearing. Is there a motion to approve the school choice?
I move that we approve the limited school choice. We exclude K through 8 and allow school choice in grades 9 through 12.
Within the limitations.
Within the numbers per Dr. Conti's earlier sentence.
Is there a second?
I second.
All right, any questions? Good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? It's unanimous. And we are now through with our agenda and ready for executive session.
Yes, ma'am.
We have executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, subsection 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the school district and the chair so declares that it does. BEA union contract. We will return to public session only for purposes of adjournment. Is there a motion to go into?
Move that we enter executive session.
Second.
All right. Jeremy?
Aye.
Megan?
Yes.
Melissa?
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We are in executive session. Good night, everyone. Thanks for
Night.
coming.
Thank you.